Obro el micro. Sí, i em fas una senyal si estan per començar, no? Ah, sí. Vale. Vale, perfecte. Bueno, hi ha un lloc, m'estan dient que hi ha un lloc per tu davant, que ha fallat un del jurat. Aviam. Vale. Fem en anglès, oi? Bueno, començarem un poti-poti, però ja està. A les escoles aquests dies, que ho estan tallant tot.
I avui he sortit de les classes de 6 del matí, perquè ahir ja va anar amb temps, però vaig estar mitja hora més perquè em van tallar la mesa.
Jo l'altre dia... Veig que funciona el micro. Vaig pujar.
Benvinguts i benvingudes a l'auditori de la UPC. En breus moments començarà l'acte. Us preguem que desconnecteu o silencieu els vostres mòbils i estigueu atents a les següents consignes en cas d'emergència. Sereu informats d'emergència per mitjà del sistema de megafonia. També podeu rebre un avís per mitjà de l'alarma d'incendi de l'edifici o per part del personal de la UPC. En cas d'evacuació, dirigiu-vos a la sortida més propera. Seguiu el recorregut d'evacuació que trobareu senyalitzat. Aneu al punt de reunió, que es troba a la plaça Eusebi Güell. Fixeu-vos-hi, hi ha 4 sortides d'emergència des de la platea i l'escenari. Fixeu-vos-hi, hi ha 2 sortides d'evacuació des de l'amfiteatre que condueixen a 3 possibles recorreguts d'evacuació. Les persones amb mobilitat reduïda se situaran a la zona esquerra de la platea, des d'on hi ha un recorregut d'evacuació accessible. En cas que algú es trobi malament, aviseu al punt d'atenció sanitària. Per a qualsevol incidència, aviseu la cabina de control. Moltes gràcies per la vostra atenció.
Molt bé, doncs bon dia a tothom, buenos días, welcome. Estic molt contenta que siguem aquí per la jornada de portes obertes de l'Escola de Doctorat d'aquest any. I will switch to English now. I would like to... Is this very loud? No, it's okay. Okay. So I would like to welcome you all here in the room and also the people who are online, because we are streaming this session for all the people who might be abroad. As I was saying, I'm very happy to welcome you. Today is quite special because we are here because you are probably thinking of doing a PhD. And the main objective of today is to show you who we are at the Doctoral School at UPC and why this is the best place, the best university to do your PhD. I'm Cristina Canal Bernils, the director of the Doctoral School, and today we have a very interesting program because we will start with the contest of your PhD thesis in 4 minutes. This contest is a Catalan contest organized by Generalitat de Catalunya, where in 1 month one representative of each Catalan university will explain and defend their topic of their thesis just in 4 minutes, and the one who does it better gets the prize. So here, what we are doing today is, the second phase of the UPC internal contest to select our representative. And we are doing this contest today with the main aim that those of you that are thinking on doing a PhD, you can see the research that the people ahead of us, future UPC graduates, what they are doing in different fields. And in a very, I would say, the aim of the contest is to be able to communicate very complex topics in an understandable language. And this is what your colleagues here have prepared. Then, after the presentations, we will have the Deputy Director of the Doctoral School to explain what it is to do a PhD at UPC, and what you should do if you really want to do it, how to start, what to do. During his presentation, the jury will be discussing to select the 3 best candidates for the award, and then we will give it in the awards, and then we will close. And of course, we will have time for questions and solving doubts, both here and when we finish. So I won't take any more time, and we will move on to the final contest. I guess the candidates are ready. So as I was saying, this is organized by Generalitat de Catalunya, and this is the order of the selected candidates in order. So we have 10 candidates. I will introduce the first one. If you are you ready? Okay. So the first speaker will be Javier Marricain Antoñanzas. The title of his thesis is Algoritmos Mateurísticos para la programación de mantenimientos preventivos from the Doctoral Program, Cadena de Subministrament i Direcció d'Operacions. So if you want to come in.
Buenas. Imaginaros por un momento que vuestro coche os habla y os hace la pregunta. ¿Cuándo me vas a llevar al taller? Esto es algo con lo que todos tenemos que lidiar. Y sí, claro, si llevamos demasiado pronto el coche, tenemos gastos innecesarios. Si lo llevamos demasiado tarde, corremos el riesgo de que el coche nos deje tirado en la carretera. Y ahora, no os imagináis un solo coche. Imaginaros miles de coches. Imaginaros una fábrica, imaginaros una central energética, imaginaros una red de telecomunicaciones. Un sitio donde yo lo que tengo que hacer es decidir en una planificación de, por ejemplo, un mes, en qué momento reviso qué máquina. Y no solo eso, mientras yo estoy revisando una máquina, no puedo revisar otra, porque tengo recursos limitados. Pues este es el reto, encontrar esa planificación perfecta. Inicialmente es un problema perfecto para las matemáticas, así que por ahí comenzamos. Comenzamos con un modelo matemático. Y este modelo matemático lo que hace es, mediante fórmulas, simula el comportamiento de este sistema. Y gracias a esto encontramos la solución perfecta. ¿Cuál es el problema? Tenía que haber un pero. El pero es que es la solución perfecta para pequeños ejemplares. En el momento en el que empezábamos a meter más máquinas o tiempos más largos, nos encontramos con el monstruo computacional. ¿Qué es el monstruo computacional? Que después de horas y horas y horas no encontrábamos una solución correcta. ¿Por qué? Porque este problema tiene dificultad exponencial, lo cual significa que para un ejemplar mediano o grande, si pudiéramos resolver 1000 soluciones por segundo, tardaríamos más que la edad del Sol en poder descubrir todas las posibles soluciones. Así que, ¿qué hacemos? ¿Nos rendimos? No. Vamos a ver qué es lo que podemos hacer. Y aquí es donde nos encontramos frente a un debate. Podemos utilizar matemáticas puras, que son exactas, elegantes, pero lentas, o podemos utilizar algoritmos heurísticos, que son rápidos y eficientes, pero nos dan aproximaciones. Es como si, por un lado, tuviéramos un genio que te da la mejor solución, pero tarda siglos en responderte, y por otro lado tuviéramos un amigo inquieto, impulsivo, que da decisión rápida, pero no te va a dar siempre la mejor solución o no siempre tiene en cuenta todos los datos. ¿Qué elegimos? Pues la pregunta fue, ¿por qué elegir? Vamos a hacer que estos dos cooperen y así es como descubrimos los algoritmos mateurísticos. Son algoritmos que toman decisiones rápidas y ágiles, pero sin embargo en los momentos concretos más complicados del problema utilizan las matemáticas para solucionarlo. Obtuvimos 5 algoritmos, 5 inteligencias que nos daban la respuesta a este problema en tan solo 30 minutos. ¿Y cómo de buena era la solución? Nos desviábamos solo un 3% de esa solución ideal. Pasamos de eones a minutos, perdiendo solo un 3% de precisión. Pero es curioso, como esto funcionaba muy bien, dijimos, ¿qué pasa si le damos más libertad? ¿Qué pasa si, por ejemplo, le dejamos también elegir cuánto tiene que durar la planificación? Que no nos quedamos a un 3%, nos quedamos a un 1%. Y no solo eso, aquí viene lo más curioso. ¿Qué pasa si les ponemos a competir? Sí, competir. ¿Qué significa competir? Ya que son 5, vamos a empezar a hacer que trabajen entre ellas y cuando una ve que no va a encontrar una solución mejor que la otra, que deje de gastar ejecuciones. Es decir, como si fuera una carrera de relevos. Pues con esto obtuvimos exactamente la misma solución, pero encima en el 50% menos de tiempo. Por lo tanto, estos modelos son aplicables a industrias, a Internet, a hospitales, a fábricas, a nuestra red energética. Y lo que quiero es llevaros a la reflexión, no solo el para qué, sino el cómo. Si os fijáis, hemos conseguido dar solución a un problema que computacionalmente era imposible gracias a la colaboración y al trabajo en equipo de diferentes algoritmos. Y si este programa imposible se ha sido solucionado, ¿cuál será el siguiente?
Muchísimas gracias. As you saw, it's very important to have a wise man and a good friend to find the solutions, so let's keep that in mind. And we move to the next candidate, who is Noah Larvoe, and his thesis title is From Farm to Fork, the role of farmers and consumers in pesticide reduction in European vineyards and olive grove. He comes from the Doctoral Program of Sustainability, so please, Mr. Larvoe.
Good morning, everyone. I will start my presentation with a short political drama. Now, in the year 2020, the European Commission made a big proposal to reduce pesticide use in agriculture by 50%. Wow, that was very ambitious, green, and inspiring because pesticide is described as a double-edged sword. It protects our crops, at the same time it is dangerous to human and our environment. So this proposal was very, very ambitious. But along the line, this proposal was dropped because resistance, demonstrations, and there was no way forward. Today, as we speak, the proposal to reduce pesticide use is still there, but the way to go, there is no way forward. So I asked myself a simple question. If the European Commission fails to reduce pesticide use from the top, can it instead move from the bottom? Because at the end, two key people are involved in decision-making in our food system. Those who produce the food and those who consume it. I mean farmers and consumers. Because if farmers make a decision, everything will be perfect. If consumers also make a purchase decision, everything is going to move in the right direction. So I set out to find out if farmers themselves are willing to reduce pesticide use in their vineyards and in their olive groves. And I wanted to know if consumers are willing to support them, not just with an applause, but with their wallets. So I spoke to both sides in the value chain. I spoke to 5,000 consumers in 5 European countries. And guess what? I spoke to 350 farmers in 5 European countries as well. No complicated equations today, no lab coats, just real people making real decisions. And this is what I found. On the consumption side, consumers are willing to pay more for products with less pesticide. But guess what? Not just to pay for anything, to pay for something that is certified and something that is really proven. In other words, show me what you have reduced and I will consider paying more for it. On the farmer side, farmers are not resistant to change at all. They are practical. In other words, their decision to reduce pesticide use depend on 3 key questions. And what are they? Is it feasible? Is it cheaper? Is it technically possible to achieve? If the answers to these 3 questions are affirmative, farmers are willing to reduce pesticide. If the answers are negative, farmers are hesitant. So what does this really mean? It means that pesticide reduction is not only a regulatory issue. It means pesticide reduction is not only a technical issue. It is an economic issue. It is a behavioral issue. If policymakers can't find a way to align consumers' decision with farmers' intention, we can create an alignment where consumers reward and farmers adjust, and our market is going to adapt. This does not replace regulation at all. It complements it. It shows us that sustainability is not only written in laws, it is written in our daily life. It is written in vineyards, it is written in olive groves, it is written in our supermarket, and it is written in our dinner tables. My presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thanks for keeping on time. You will be seeing the master students considering doing the PhD. You are able to see not only different topics, but also some abilities that you will gain during the PhD, which is the ability to communicate. And you will see many different styles, and something very important, the ability to condense complicated issues. And with this, we will move to the next candidate, Ana Maria Villanova. Her thesis is titled Geometry of Action-Dependent Theories, and she comes from the doctoral program of Applied Mathematics. So welcome on stage.
So, nature is lazy. Indeed, if you're looking for the shortest path or the way to minimize the amount of work that you want to do, think about how nature would do it. At least that's how physicists came up with the least action principle, the law that bottles up nature's nature. The idea behind it is to prove that laziness is not a random occurrence, but it's physics modus operandi. So when we want to apply it to a physical system, we need a description for it, right? And that's a Lagrangian. A Lagrangian is a function that intrinsically and implicitly holds all the information that we need to describe a system, how it changes, how it evolves, how it interacts with other systems. And then when we apply the least action principle to it, we're able to recover all the canonical and known laws of physics, from Newton's law to Einstein's law. So a natural question would be, are we actually able to deduce all of modern physics from this teeny tiny principle? Surprisingly, the answer is yes. Before, we need another mathematical object, a vector field. You've all seen one, a compass. At every point in space, a compass needle points north, and that's exactly what a vector field does. In every point in space, it associates a direction. And when paired up with the Lagrangian, it is able to describe very complicated systems. So we did it. We solved physics, right? Well, actually, what physicists are truly interested in is being able to predict the future. Given a system today, what will it look like tomorrow, in 20 years, in 1,000 years? And for simple systems, that's possible. But for more complicated ones, it's not only complex, it's impossible sometimes. Take the three-body problem. 3 planets orbiting with respect to one another. There's no formula, no shortcut. So physicists came up with a cheat code. Instead of looking for the exact solution, they wanted to study how the system looks. So the properties of the system. Is it stable? Does it repeat itself periodically? Are there any conserved quantities that might restrict the motion of the system? And that's when geometry becomes so powerful. The idea is to associate a geometrical object to a physical system. How do we do that? Well, we take all the points forming the system, and to each one of it, we stick a space that holds all the possible velocities that that point could get. So let's take a rigid pendulum, for instance. Every point could get theoretically up to whatever velocity, and that's represented by a line. Once we stick it to every point, what do we get? A cylinder. And here is where the magic happens, because conserved quantities of the system is represented by symmetries of our geometrical object. So the cylinder is symmetric with respect to rotation, and the conserved quantity in the original system is angular momenta. And that's what I do with my thesis. I build the geometric shape for very complicated systems and check that the least action principle still applies. We're still able to get the physics law, so that physicists can get their conserved quantities at the glimpse of an eye. Because in physics, as in nature, the most elegant solution is always the laziest one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, as you can see, the rules of the contest allow 1 slide, 2 slides, not more. And with this, we move on to the next candidate, Ricardo Mancha. His title is Una foto que puede salvar vidas, and he comes from the Doctoral Program of Biomedical Engineering. So welcome on stage, please.
Sonreíd y decid patata. Mantenerme esa pose, que la foto va a tomar solo 4 minutos. Seguro que la reconocéis. Es una cámara de fuelles. Esas tan grandes en las que tenías que quedarte quieto durante minutos para tomarte una única fotografía. Actualmente solo las encuentras en los museos, pero así es más o menos como nos encontramos hoy en día en neurociencias, con la resonancia y con el EEG. Por un lado, la resonancia nos da imagen detallada de la anatomía cerebral. Es algo así como una foto en HD del cerebro, como si te pudieras pasear por los pasillos del MediaMarkt y ver cerebros en esos televisores tan grandes y coloridos. Sin embargo, la resonancia se toma en espacios estrechos, ruidosos, y a los niños es imposible mantenerlos quietos ahí dentro. El problema es que, como pasaba con estas cámaras antiguas, has de quedarte quieto durante minutos para una única foto. ¿Por qué? Pues porque la resonancia depende del flujo sanguíneo. Es un fenómeno biológico que no podemos acelerar y que tarda varios segundos en fluctuar de manera natural. Por otro lado, las neuronas son mucho más rápidas que la sangre, tardan milisegundos, y con esas diferencias de tiempo tan brutal ya te has perdido la mitad de la película. Imagina que estás otra vez en el MediaMarkt, que todos esos televisores están fallando ese día y se están congelando, como cuando tú te quedas sin datos en el Internet del móvil. Pues así es más o menos cómo nos encontramos hoy en día en neurociencias. Por otro lado, tenemos el EEG. El EEG sí es rápido, mide directamente la actividad eléctrica de las neuronas. El problema es que la actividad eléctrica de las neuronas es muy pequeña y además se dispersa por todo el cráneo, un fenómeno conocido como volume conduction. El reto es radicalmente opuesto al de la resonancia. El reto aquí radica más bien en ser capaces de localizar el origen de la señal de forma precisa entre tanto ruido. Imagina que estás en el MediaMarkt, esta vez buscando equipos de sonido, y están todos los dispositivos activos. Entre tanto ruido te costaría muchísimo encontrar el altavoz que está reproduciendo la canción de Bad Bunny que tanto te gusta. Pues así es más o menos cómo nos encontramos en neurociencias hoy en día. Mi tesis intenta aunar lo mejor de ambas tecnologías para ser capaz de localizar el origen de la señal en tiempo real. ¿Cómo conseguimos esto? Pues, en primer lugar, realizamos un modelado 3D de la cabeza de cada participante a partir de la resonancia. Este modelo es único y particular a cada participante, lo cual quiere decir que si tú tienes un bultito en la frente, tu modelo también lo va a tener. En segundo lugar, tenemos la señal EEG. Ya que es tan precisa en el tiempo, seguro que somos capaces de extraer el momento exacto en el que se produce el incremento de actividad. En tercer lugar, mediante un paso llamado corregistro, somos capaces de solapar ambos resultados. Y finalmente, en un cuarto y último paso, mediante modelado computacional, somos capaces de reconstruir la evolución de la actividad cerebral milisegundo a milisegundo, casi como si fuera un vídeo. Ahora vamos a pensar en todas estas tecnologías que hemos estado viendo en MediaMarkt. Hoy en día podríamos ir a la sección de telefonía móvil y echarnos un selfie tal que así. Este simple gesto ha tardado entre 50 y 200 milisegundos. Increíble. Curiosamente es lo mismo que tarda nuestra actividad cerebral. Sin embargo, mi cámara del museo sigue ahí intentando tomaros una única fotografía. La evolución de las tecnologías es real y tangible. Hoy en día somos capaces de concentrar las tecnologías que cabían en esos armatostes para que quepan en mi bolsillo. Si me permitís, me gustaría dejaros con una última reflexión. Ahora, ¿cómo podemos replicar esta evolución con una foto que pueda salvar vidas? Muchas gracias.
Yes. Deja. Thank you very much. You can breathe now. It's okay. Yeah, and if they took a picture from our brains now, there would be a lot of activity because we are getting information from many different fields, which is really interesting. And the next candidate is ready. She's María del Pilar Gamarra. And her thesis is titled Comportamiento ético, identidad moral, atención moral y su papel en la construcción del liderazgo ético. And she comes from the doctoral program of Administración y Dirección de Empresas. So, welcome on stage.
Gracias. Bon dia a tothom. Tot i que ara generaré falses expectatives, m'hagués agradat poder fer tota la presentació en català, però el temor a no poder expressar-me correctament i trobar les paraules adequades m'ha vençut. Així que, amb el vostre permís, seguiré en castellà. Bien, hoy en día estamos como obsesionados con la inteligencia artificial y todos los algoritmos que controlan las decisiones importantes que gobiernan el mundo. Pero si nosotros queremos compañías y organizaciones responsables, no nos valen con millones de líneas de código, por muy complicadas que sean, sino que necesitamos pensar un poco más allá, en un algoritmo súper complejo, el que maneja la ética en la mente de nuestros líderes. Nuestra tesis intenta entrar en esa sala de máquinas de los líderes para intentar ver cómo se fabrica esa convicción de querer ser un líder ético. Y dentro de esa sala de máquinas analizamos dos antecedentes morales, que los veremos a continuación, porque ellos son la pieza clave en esos algoritmos. Ellos son los que hacen que nuestros líderes sean responsables. Pues bien, ¿y por qué? ¿Y por qué esto? Pues porque llevamos décadas intentando vigilar con unos prismáticos cómo funcionan nuestros líderes. Y les preguntamos a sus empleados, oye, ¿cómo funciona tu líder? Pero nadie se ha preguntado, ¿qué piensa el líder? ¿Qué unidades o qué medidas utiliza el líder para medir su propio liderazgo ético? Pues bien, y además no solamente eso, sino que cómo maneja su sala de máquinas para que le permita actuar de esa manera. Pues bien, nuestra tesis ha investigado unas 368 soluciones de directivos españoles en las que el líder es su propio juez. Y ahí hemos entrado en la sala de máquinas y nos hemos encontrado dos grandes motores. El primer motor es la identidad moral, pero la identidad moral no funciona sola, sino que tiene dos componentes. La internalización, que es cómo de privado y profundo es el sentimiento de los valores dentro del líder, Y la otra, que es la simbolización, que cómo lo maneja el líder cuando se lo tiene que presentar a los demás. En el otro engranaje tenemos la atención moral. Y la atención moral también tiene dos componentes. Una que es la parte perceptual, es esa respuesta automática que tenemos cuando tenemos una decisión ética. Y la otra que es un poco más reflexiva, es esa consciencia que tenemos cuando necesitamos pensar algo que tenga un contenido ético. Pues bien, estos dos engranajes funcionan para generar este sistema. Hemos preguntado a los líderes y hemos encontrado 3 megadimensiones súper importantes que ellos perciben desde su liderazgo. La primera dimensión es una toma de decisiones integradora, cómo el líder tiene en cuenta las diferentes partes que integran sus decisiones. Aquí la parte más importante es la parte de la internalización, es decir, la esencia del líder desde el punto de vista de sus valores. La segunda es la recompensa al liderazgo ético. Es curioso, una nota súper rápido. También tenían el castigo al comportamiento no ético. No lo valoraron. Ellos preferían valorar la dimensión de la recompensa al comportamiento ético. Aquí tenemos dos componentes. La componente de simbolización, que es cómo se presentan a los demás, y la componente reflexiva de la atención moral. No basta con ser bueno, sino que también hay que demostrarlo. Y por último, el tercero, que es el rol del modelo de conducta. Es decir, el líder debe ser el espejo en el que se refleja. Pues bien, esto es todo. Quedamos pendientes de poder hacer que nuestros líderes sean mucho más éticos y que siga funcionando esa sala de máquinas. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Ethics, apart from that of our leaders, where it is important, it's very important to keep in mind while we are doing research. So this is something that we also share, and you will be able to train through our transversal courses in the doctoral school. And the next candidate is Germán Fañanas Futjaner. And the title of his thesis is Modulation and Closed-Loop Control of a Multi-Phase, Multi-Level NPC Integrated Inverter Charger for EVs. He comes from the doctoral program of Electronic Engineering, and welcome on stage.
Vivim una electrificació sense precedents. Cada dia més coses funcionen amb energia elèctrica. Ara bé, sabríeu dir-me quina és la tecnologia clau per garantir la transferència d'energia elèctrica entre sistemes? Per exemple, entre la xarxa, que funciona amb corrent altern, i les bateries, que funcionen amb corrent continu? Es tracta dels convertidors electrònics de potència. Soc Germán Fañanas, membre del grup de recerca CAPE-GREP i investigador del Departament d'Energia Electrònica. En el nostre grup creiem que els grans reptes ens condueixen a solucions revolucionàries. Per això, des de fa més de 20 anys, treballem en una línia per tal de canviar la metodologia de disseny de tots aquests convertidors. Aquesta es fonamenta en la modularitat. L'objectiu és fer dissenys que siguin estàndards per tal de reduir el cost i el temps de disseny. Fent servir una analogia, podríem mirar com es construeixen parets. Gairebé sempre es fa servir un únic mòdul bàsic, que són els maons, i es poden construir parets de qualsevol mida. Imagineu la feinada que seria haver de fer cada vegada una paret a mida. Des de l'inici de la tesi, ara ja fa 3 anys, treballem en un projecte europeu anomenat ESCAPE, amb l'objectiu de demostrar la potencialitat d'aquesta metodologia de disseny. Fem l'aplicació de vehicle elèctric. Per tant, construïm els convertidors d'una moto, d'un cotxe i d'un camió elèctric fent servir sempre un únic mòdul bàsic. A mida que s'augmenta la potència de processament, l'únic que hem de fer és posar més mòduls bàsics. A diferència de la metodologia convencional, on sempre que canviem de convertidor hem de redissenyar aquest mòdul. Ara voldria només detallar molt ràpidament els convertidors que tenim al cotxe elèctric. En primer lloc tenim el carregador, que envia energia elèctrica des de la xarxa cap a les bateries, i en segon lloc tenim l'inversor, que envia l'energia elèctrica des de les bateries al motor. Ara il·lustraré a pantalla el nostre disseny per a l'inversor del cotxe elèctric. trobeu a la dreta el nostre disseny i a l'esquerra el disseny convencional. No m'interessa que entengueu tot el circuit, perquè no és el moment, sinó simplement que veieu com el nostre disseny es fonamenta en la modularitat. A l'esquerra de tots dos dissenys trobeu la bateria, a la dreta trobeu els motors i al centre l'inversor. Arribat a aquest punt direu, però tu què fas a la tesis? Doncs bé, la meva tasca és fer de director d'orquestra. He de determinar en cada instant de temps la posició de cadascun d'aquests mòduls, ja que aquest mòdul, cadascun d'aquests mòduls, el nostre MAO, bàsicament és un interruptor controlat. Té dues posicions, conduir corrent o bloquejar tensió. D'una forma tècnica, això es diu control i modulació. Nosaltres hem desenvolupat controls considerant el sistema en un estat de salut sa, però també hem considerat fallades. És a dir, tenim un sistema tolerant a fallades. Això ha sigut possible perquè la nostra arquitectura és tolerant a fallades, a diferència de la convencional. Fent servir una altra analogia, podríem pensar en els nostres ronyons. Si perdem un, podem continuar a viure. Per tant, això seria un sistema tolerant a fallades, mentre que el cor no ho seria. A dia d'avui hem aconseguit comprovar aquests controls fent servir una plataforma que simula el sistema elèctric i ja estem treballant amb un sistema real per provar aquests controls. Abans de finalitzar, voldria remarcar que el fet de tenir un sistema tolerant a fallades ens obre la porta a aplicacions molt interessants, com per exemple l'avió elèctric, on la seguretat és crucial, o les turbines offshore d'alta mar, on el manteniment és molt costós i complex. Bé, espero haver transmet una mica la bellesa del que fem i desitjo que també hagi pogut veure l'enorme potencial que té. Gràcies.
Moltes gràcies. Thank you. Yes, we could see the beauty and the potential of what you are doing, indeed. And we move on to the next candidate. He's Ronald Henry Palacios Duchicela, and the title of his thesis is Towards a Global Sustainability Pork Production Through the Application of Efficient Dietary Strategies, Smart Musculoskeletal Evaluation, and Consumer Attitude Assessment. He comes from the doctoral program of Tecnologia Agroalimentària i Biotecnologia. So please welcome on stage Mr. Palacios.
Asumo que la mayoría que estamos aquí hemos consumido alguna vez algún producto cerdo, más aún considerando que Cataluña y España son grandes productores. Por otra parte, considerando que el consumidor cada vez es más exigente y consciente del producto que consume, ha provocado que el sector porcino busque estrategias para obtener productos más sostenibles, de buena calidad y sobre todo sin afectar el bienestar animal. Es así que englobando todas estas perspectivas, hemos desarrollado nuestro proyecto denominado Hacia una sostenibilidad global de la producción porcina mediante estrategias alimentarias eficientes. Y más aún cuando la población porcina en los últimos años ha incrementado debido al consumo de carne y al crecimiento de la población. Sin embargo, esta intensificación de la producción porcina ha experimentado problemas de sostenibilidad para este sector, debido a los residuos obtenidos durante el crecimiento de los animales. Uno de los factores más importantes es la eliminación de minerales en las heces, especialmente de fósforo, ya que este fósforo puede provocar problemas de eutrofización del agua y contaminación del suelo. Esto se debe a que el animal en su organismo carece de una enzima fitasa que no le permite aprovechar el fósforo de origen natural. Por esta razón es necesario la incorporación de fósforo inorgánico y fitasas en su dieta. Y considerando que este fósforo proviene de fuentes no renovables y que pocos países extraen este mineral, nos hemos planteado las estrategias de utilizar estrategias alimentarias con la finalidad, en este caso, de reducir el fósforo utilizado en la dieta de los animales y el fósforo excretado en las heces, y de esta manera contribuir a la sostenibilidad del sector porcino, siempre y cuando esta reducción de los minerales no debe afectar al bienestar del animal ni a la calidad de la canal y la carne. Es así que en mi tesis hemos utilizado dos dietas, la dieta control, la cual está representada en color azul y con la letra C, y la dieta restringida, la cual contenía el 80% de fósforo y el 90% de calcio, la cual está representada en color rosa y con la letra R. Estas dos dietas se combinaron en 3 fases diferentes para obtener 4 estrategias alimentarias. una que fue la control positivo, control negativo o deficiente, una estrategia compensatorio 1 y compensatorio 2. A partir de esto hemos evaluado las características óseas de los animales, donde se pudo observar que al final de la fase 1 y la fase 2, los animales alimentados con la dieta restringida y control eran diferentes. Sin embargo, al final de la fase 3 se pudo observar que los animales alimentados con la estrategia compensatorio 1 y compensatorio 2 fueron similares a los animales control. Esto se puede atribuir a que estos animales mejoraron la utilización digestiva y metabólica del fósforo, lo que les permitió aumentar en sí la absorción intestinal del fósforo, reabsorción renal y un adecuado recambio óseo. Además, pudimos observar en este estudio que en la fase número 2 la dieta restringida reduce el fósforo y el calcio excretado en un 38% aproximadamente, mientras que en la fase 3 la estrategia compensatorio 1 y compensatorio 2 redujeron el fósforo y el calcio excretado en un 10 y 20% respectivamente. Y finalmente, la evaluación de la canal nos permitió observar que no existe ningún efecto sobre la calidad de la canal y carne al utilizar estas estrategias alimentarias y sobre todo no se vio afectado el tejido óseo del animal. Es así que, por lo tanto, podemos comentar que la aplicación de estas estrategias alimentarias son útiles para reducir el fósforo utilizado en la elaboración de los piensos y el fósforo excretado en las heces y de alguna manera contribuir a la sostenibilidad del sector porcino. Y lo más importante, sin afectar al bienestar del animal y al producto final. Muchísimas gracias.
Gracias. Thank you very much. As you can see, we have a broad diversity of topics, of research topics at UPC, all very interesting. And the next candidate is Mrs. Wahinor. Her thesis is entitled Molecular Disorder and Stability in Pharmaceutical Eutectics, and she comes from the doctoral program of Applied and Computational Physics. So welcome on stage, Mrs. Noor.
Hello everyone. We have all been sick at some point in our life. Maybe it's that bad headache where you reach for a painkiller and within minutes it's gone. It almost feels like magic. But have you ever stopped to think how much work went into that one little pill? Years of research and thousands of experiments just to make sure that the drug reaches in your body at right place, right amount and right time. Because the truth is, not all drugs work like that. Most of the drugs on the market and still under development, they do not completely dissolve in our body, not because the chemistry is wrong, but how they are built on molecular level. Most of the drugs are crystalline and they are ordered, and that order limits how well they dissolve into body fluids. And as a result, to get desired therapeutic activity from such drugs, higher doses are often required, which means more side effects and higher production costs. And as a result, we have poor solubility. One of the best ways to solve this problem is by converting order into disorder by a process called amorphization, where we take a crystal, melt it, and cool it so fast that it does not get enough time to reorganize, and the result is disordered amorphous state. And that disorder is the very thing that we want, because it dissolves much faster and more effectively, and in my experiments, that amorphous drug dissolves 2 times better than the crystalline one. But here is a catch. Amorphous drugs are unstable, and over time, they tend to convert back into crystalline one. So everything we gained is lost. So you can see that the solution is not that straightforward. I had to face 2 fundamental challenges. First, stability, how to stop drug from converting back into order, and second, to have something that really works in real life. So I solved both these issues by making a coamorphous mix, where instead of using one drug alone, we combine 2 drugs in a combined amorphous state, and one help as a stabilizing partner to help prevent it converting back to order, and thus improving the overall stability of the drug. Now, here is where things get really interesting. This is this slide is the core research, and I have studied two drugs, antifungal, fluconazole and iconazole, on a broad range of composition. Until now, it has been believed in pharmaceutical science that the maximum stability exists only at one specific composition, one magic ratio called the eutectic point. But what I found in my work is remarkable is that the stability does not exist only at one point and then it disappears, but there have been lying a whole wide stable window where the formulations were stable for 14 months at room temperature. And this changes everything. This opens new possibilities for future drug development. Now, drug developers, they don't have to chase that one perfect composition. They have flexibility, a bigger room to optimize, to synthesize, and to create drugs that are truly effective. And before I end, I would like to tell you what I find most fascinating about all this is that all our life, we chase order. Order feels safe. Order feels right. But here, in the molecular world, it's precisely disorder that saves us. So next time you have a headache and you reach for a painkiller and it works within minutes, just remember, it's disorder saving you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I see that you are challenging the laws of physics and entropy in another direction. My kids will be happy to know. So the next speaker is Mario Carlos Mallea Ruth, and the topic of his thesis is Advancing Green AI through One-Shot Learning and Lightweight Models. He comes from the Doctoral Program of Artificial Intelligence, so please welcome on stage.
Gracias. En 2015, las redes neuronales artificiales superaron por primera vez la capacidad humana de reconocer objetos. La técnica clave fue apilar varias capas de neuronas en profundidad, un patrón inspirado en cómo funciona nuestro cerebro. Desde entonces, la inteligencia artificial ha avanzado exponencialmente, duplicando cada 3 meses la cantidad de neuronas de la máquina y con ello la optimización necesaria para ajustarlas. De hecho, el entrenamiento de ChatGPT en 2023 costó más de $100 millones, consumiendo tanta energía como 5.000 hogares o emitiendo tanto CO2 como 3.000 vueltas en coche por el ecuador de la Tierra. Esto es una barrera de entrada para el desarrollo científico, una factura ambiental y se aleja de nuestra inspiración inicial, ya que, en contraste, nuestro cerebro solo requiere de 20 vatios de potencia, el equivalente a encender una bombilla. Mi tesis se basa en un principio de sostenibilidad o inteligencia artificial verde, donde el objetivo es construir un camino hacia modelos más eficientes, adaptables en tiempo real y responsables. Mi estudio se basa en el aprendizaje de máquinas aleatorizadas, ya que emplear conexiones aleatorias es computacionalmente más barato que optimizarlas. Pero, ¿por qué una red con conexiones aleatorias podría funcionar? Es como la lotería. Si bien la probabilidad de éxito en un solo intento es muy baja, esta incrementará con muchos intentos. La red, entonces, solo tiene que aprender a alinear muchas características aleatorias en vez de optimizar millones de conexiones entre ellas. En mi tesis demuestro 3 principales y novedosas aplicaciones y propiedades de estas máquinas eficientes. Mi primera contribución establece que las conexiones no tienen por qué ser completamente aleatorias. Es posible incorporar conocimiento previo en el proceso de generación de estas conexiones. Esto permite generar predicciones más precisas y robustas a las variaciones en los datos de entrada, mientras mantenemos su eficiencia energética. Mi segunda contribución permite generar rápidamente una cantidad diversa de predicciones, que con un mecanismo de consenso adecuado entre ellas, permite y beneficia la precisión y calibración ante la incertidumbre del pronóstico. En mi investigación demuestro estas propiedades en el contexto del pronóstico de consumo energético en edificios y empresas manufactureras, beneficiando su planificación energética. Mi tercera contribución es en el contexto de las baterías de litio de los vehículos eléctricos. donde es imprescindible inferir información clave sobre la vida útil de la batería, a partir de los patrones de carga, descarga y química de la batería. A diferencia de una red neuronal completamente entrenable, mi solución puede ser desplegada en el pequeño computador del vehículo, permitiendo un aprendizaje continuo en un flujo constante de datos y procesando múltiples señales en tiempo real para inferir información clave como la capacidad de carga actual de la batería o la cantidad de ciclos carga-descarga restantes antes que requiera una mantención. Un paso importante hacia la electrificación inteligente y sostenible. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we keep moving on. Our next candidate is Sunil Kumar. Making Wi-Fi reliable for factories is his thesis topic. And he comes from the doctoral program of Ingeniería Telemática. So please welcome on stage.
Problem of buffering while having a online important meeting? You must have. So now assume that same situation happens in a smart factory environment. Of course, it will destroy few instruments, it can destroy human beings working there, and it can also cause shutdown of the production. So, in an industrial environment, there are different applications with different promises. Like in our life, we have promises with our life partner, with our relationships. Applications have also different promises. For example, here, a collaborative robot have promises of 0.5 to 1 millisecond. And the other application, for example, human to machine, it have promises of 50 to 200 milliseconds. As you can see, few promises, as in our life, are very simple to meet, but few promises are very difficult. And the idea is to meet all these promises. If we don't meet the promises, then the production line will be shut down. So how do we do it? We do it in two different ways in a Wi-Fi. First, we work on inside Wi-Fi mechanism. So right now in your mobile phone, either you can connect by 2.4 gigahertz or with 5 gigahertz. But with new Wi-Fi 7 technology, you can use both of the links simultaneously. So it means that you can send data over two multiple links. And now, of course, it will increase the speed and reduce the delay. But the problem is there are two links. So we need some intelligence, some scheduling. So that is the thing that we are doing. And we have created a scheduler that takes the decisions. And the promises are the one that we have to take in the account. The second approach is we are using multiple wireless LAN or Wi-Fi networks. So instead of just sending traffic to one network, we are sending it using multiple networks. So if one of the network fails, then still we have other routes to go. Of course, it will decrease the delay and increase the speed, but somehow it will burden the resources because it is using lots of resources. So we need again a scheduler to handle this situation. So we need brain that actually reactivate or deactivate this scheduling. So based on this, what we have concluded, the broken promises, SLA deviation or broken promises are reduced to 90%. And the other thing, which is very closer to the industrial thing, which is actually how continuously we are broken these promises. And that is also improved. And in the last, we actually reduce this resource waste, the waste that we were seeing here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I would like to thank all the candidates. I always learn a lot when I see such diversity of topics. They did excellent presentation, all of them, and you saw many different styles of communication, right? Now I will ask the jury members if they can go to another room to discuss. Their duty now is to select the 3 best candidates and the one that will represent UPC in the final national contest very soon. And while they are moving away, we will move on to the next part of this, of today's session. And for that, allow me to introduce the Deputy Director of the Doctoral School, Luis Jofre, who will tell you what is it to do a PhD at UPC and hopefully solve all your doubts for the future. Thank you, Luis. Okay.
Can you hear me? Yes. Well, first of all, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. So after we've gone through the part of this Thesis in 4 minutes contest, the idea now is to introduce or to present to you what a PhD is, what it entails, and what we can, or how can we support you from the PhD from the doctoral school. Okay, so allow me to start the presentation. I'll try to make it fun and short, which means that it's twice fun, but let's go for it. Okay, so I'm Luis Jofre, and I will present what a PhD is. Okay, so first of all, let me introduce a little bit what Universitat Politècnica de Catalunya is, okay, in terms of numbers, the type of sciences and engineering topics that it covers, and also a little bit of numbers. Or let me go like this. So UPC basically focuses on engineering, architecture, and physical sciences or sciences, and we are organized in this way, okay? So typically, today we will focus on the doctoral programs, on the PhD school, but UPC is much more than that, and of course, we have bachelor degrees as well as master degrees. To put some numbers, to put some context in what that means, actually, we have approximately like 70 bachelor programs covering, as I said, from, let's say, traditional engineering topics to architecture and going through sciences like applied physics or mathematics, as some of the presentations that we've seen in the previous contest. Okay, in terms of masters, we have approximately 100 masters, and which 50% of them are taught in English in a way to somehow promote internalization for students like you coming from abroad to Barcelona and to Catalonia to study master degrees. And somehow the next natural step, or the, let's say, the top tier of these different levels corresponds to the doctoral programs. Okay, and that's more or less what we are going to be explaining today. Important, UPC has a particular, let's say, feature that is not just one single campus, a very large single campus. Instead, we are organized in, let's say, in a distributed way. UPC has 18 schools, for example, the School of Mathematics, the School of Civil Engineering, Architecture, etc., etc., etc. And these schools are organized in 7 different cities, let's say, around the Barcelona metropolitan area. Here in Barcelona, we have 2 or 3 several schools. Then we have schools in Terrassa, in Castelldefels, in Vilanova, in Manresa. Okay, so it's a little bit distributed through the Barcelona territory. Okay, and what we do and who we are the, let's say, the team organizing the doctoral programs through the doctoral school. The doctoral school, since the last 4 or 5 years, we have a physical space in which we develop our activities, and this space is located here in Campus North, at the entrance of Campus North, in which is called the Nexus 2 building. Is the one with these very, let's say, large windows, and of course all of you are welcome to come. whenever you want and asks if you have questions that you want to ask ourselves. So you are invited to come, and we will be happy to answer the questions and to provide the information that you need. Okay, so let's talk now more in detail about these doctoral programs. So in the at UPC, the doctoral programs are organized in approximately 46 doctoral programs. Most of these programs belong to UPC, while some of them, approximately 8, are programs that are shared with other Catalan universities. But the majority of these programs belong exclusively to UPC. And as I said before, they cover all the topics that you can somehow find in engineering, architecture, and sciences. So you can find programs focused on civil engineering, architecture, materials, biotechnology, physics, mathematics, electronics, etc. All the topics that you can imagine. And at present, we have approximately 2,400 doctoral programs enrolled and going through their thesis this year. This is a number that is somehow very stable. So typically we have this number of students that are actively enrolled and are carrying out research and focusing on their thesis. And because of that, typically every year around 345, 350 theses are defended, and somehow the studies are completed, and these researchers go to the next steps of this research career, and that's more or less the numbers that we are dealing with. UPC, just to provide a larger, let's say, presentation of what UPC is, UPC at present has or is organized in approximately 140 research groups, and we typically publish in aggregated form approximately 2,500 papers, publications in scientific journals. But what is more important to me is that UPC is a leader, at least at the Spanish level, in terms of funding, in terms of projects, especially European projects. UPC is very successful in acquiring funding at the European level. And that's very important to you, because that means that there are plenty of opportunities to carry out PhD research through these projects in very, let's say, frontier topics of engineering and sciences. Okay, at present, for example, we have approximately 1,000 new research agreements and projects. Yeah, that's what I was saying. For example, for year 2025, UPC is the top university at the Spanish level in Spain in terms of funded projects through the European program, which is the most, let's say, the most difficult one that we can apply for. And this is just, I think it's an image from the civil engineering. I think that they have a facility to study how waves or how waves interact with the territory. Okay, a little bit more of numbers. So UPC collaborates with more than 3,000 companies and research institutions. 23 patents were registered in 2025. So there is a lot of knowledge transfer, not just, let's say, fundamental research, but also a lot of knowledge transfer to society. And for example, over the past years, 33 technology-based startups have been created, which is something that is very important and very difficult to accomplish. Okay, so why pursuing a PhD? Well, because when you complete a PhD, I'm not saying vice versa, but for example, when you finish your master students, the level of employability is very high, but when you finish a PhD, that level of employability is virtually 100%. There is a high demand in PhD graduates to join companies in many different sectors of industry. There are many opportunities for research in research institutions, and some of you, for example, there are opportunities to remain in academia and become professors and continue doing research in academia. Okay, for example, to give some numbers, 95% of graduate employment and 88% of UPC graduates find a job in less than half a year. That is very good numbers that should motivate you guys to try to pursue this type of studies. Cooperations in terms of international collaborations for academia. So while UPC has many international agreements with many different institutions, approximately 200, and just to give some numbers, 50% of the PhD students come from abroad, from overseas, from Europe, from Asia, from America, from different places. So that's very important for you because there's a very, let's say, international environment, and you can interact with people from many different parts of this world. Unite. So UPC is member of the Unite organization, which is basically a group of European universities that have organized together, and it's very easy to collaborate with them and to carry out research stays or to perform activities in a collaborative form. And these institutions go from KTH in Sweden to University of Dartmouth in Germany, Politecnico de Torino in Italy, etc., etc., Lisboa, Universidad de Lisboa, and Grenoble in France, etc. So these are very, let's say, is a tight group of universities in which there are many agreements to collaborate and to exchange students and perform research stays, which is very important for a PhD program. So why? So now the question is, okay, very nice, very interesting numbers, but why should I do a PhD, right? What is the motivation behind a PhD? So here we have a nice video that will try to summarize a little bit why performing or carrying out a PhD here at UPC. So please, if you can start the video. Okay, so thank you very much for this video. It was in Catalan. No worries, now I will explain everything in English. Of course, this video is available in our website, so if some of you want to watch it again, it's available. But the main idea now is to try to somehow communicate what we have summarized in this video to you and with details. Okay, so most of you today came for the contest of your thesis in 4 minutes, but some of you came to understand better what a PhD is, what UPC can offer in terms of PhD programs, and probably you guys have specific questions about how to start a PhD, how to get funding, etc., etc., etc. So I will try to walk through these 3 different items in an organized manner. Okay, so let's start, and let's first motivate, or let's put in context what a PhD is. So most of you, or all of you, started in kindergarten, right? Middle school, high school. Then after high school, you had to decide what to study, engineering, sciences, etc., etc. And you did a bachelor, right? You did a bachelor on a specific topic. You were still very young, and then you decided to do a master, right, in a specific topic. So what's the PhD? PhD is the very last step of this ladder. There's nothing beyond that. A PhD is basically, once you have somehow specialized in your master thesis or your master, then you, if you want to continue studying and becoming more and more, let's say, knowledgeable on a specific research topic, you go through a PhD. Does that mean that if I did a master on a specific topic, I cannot switch to a different topic when I start my PhD? No, you can switch to whatever PhD topic that you are interested in and that your expertise more or less supports you to do that. Okay, so an example. I did a master's in civil engineering, but now I want to focus on mathematics. No problem. Your background is enough to somehow go through a PhD in mathematics or physics, or the other way around. I did a master's on applied mathematics, and now I want to do a PhD on chemistry. No problem. Of course, you will have to find a professor that wants to supervise you, but that's not let's say, an impediment for that. Okay, so PhD is the latest, or is the last level of education that you can receive in a university. But now let me somehow express it in a visual way. What does that mean in terms of knowledge? What is a PhD? So we have a frontier of knowledge. Choose whatever specific topic you are interested in. Energy, materials, chemistry, mathematics, business administration, whatever. There is a knowledge frontier, and the main idea is that when you do your, let's say, primary school, you start to get like the basics of mathematics, chemistry, physics, etc. The very basics, the fundamentals. After that, you go through high school and you start to see more mathematics, more details of these, let's say, fields of knowledge. And after that, as I said before, you are asked to choose a specific degree in terms of a bachelor, right? And you choose a topic, whatever topic you choose. Somehow you start to specialize yourself into a specific topic, mathematics, engineering, whatever. After that, if you still have energy, you say, okay, let me go through a master, right? And typically, although you can do whatever you want, typically what you do is you somehow get specialized in a particular topic that through your bachelor got interested in. And that's the main idea shown in this illustration, in which you start to know more and more and more, but in a very specific topic, okay? You get knowledgeable in a very specific topic. After that, if you are still interested in carrying out more, let's say, education at university, then you can go through a PhD. But what is a PhD? PhD is basically continuing to specialize yourself in a specific topic, but through a lot of, let's say, dedication, such that sometimes, if you are able enough or lucky enough, you get to a situation that when you finish your PhD, through your first year of PhD, you have to understand what is the frontier of knowledge of the specific topic that you are working on. And when you finish your PhD, as I said, if you are lucky enough, maybe you get to be in a situation that you can somehow trespass this frontier. That's very difficult. Of course, you have like 3-4 years or more to do that, but that's like the main objective of PhD, is to push a little bit the frontier of knowledge of the specific topic that you are working on. Is that easy to do? No, that's difficult. Is that impossible? No, it's plausible. What you have to do is dedicate a lot of time and dedication, focus on what you are working on, and through the help of your supervisors, most likely you are going to reach this point in which you push the frontier of knowledge. And then if all of us keep doing this and this and this, in time, all together, we are pushing the knowledge frontier in a very collaborative way. Okay, so that's a visual representation of what a PhD is, and of course, that's the motivation behind it. Is that the only thing that you are supposed to do through a PhD? Not really. I mean, as I said before, this requires a lot of work, and you go through multiple phases through your PhD. So typically the first year you are super excited about the topic, you want to change the law of physics, you want to create like completely novel ideas. That's very good. Then you go through a second phase in which you start to discover that it's not that easy. But that's the time that you have to stay calm and work every day on a daily basis, listening to your supervisors, and with time, you will be able to go through it. And then the idea is that the PhD, as I said, is performed at the university and is composed of different parts, okay? So university typically, before starting the PhD, you see university as a group of professors that teach you different lessons, you do exams, and that's it. But university is much more than that, okay? Professors, in addition to teaching, we are somehow asked to do a lot of research. So professors, we do research, and typically we rely on postdocs to help us develop the projects. Sometimes we rely on students through the master thesis and stuff like that. But somehow we need somebody to help us unite all these different parts. And that's where the PhD students come. The PhD students are really the people that go into the details of the research and they push the limits of knowledge. Why? Because that's exactly the tasks that you are asked to do through your PhD. The nice thing about the PhD, and after that you don't have time to do it anymore, is that you can focus, I wouldn't say 24 hours a day, but 8 hours a day on a specific topic. Some of you maybe 10 hours a day, and maybe on weekends. I don't suggest you to do that. But that's the nice thing about the PhD, is that you have a task to do, you have a problem to solve, and for 3-4 years, you can focus on that specific topic. And what that allows, it allows you to become an expert on that topic at a point that after 2-3 years, the idea should be that you know more than the supervisors that are supervising you. Okay, and that's very exciting to me. At least when I did it, that was the most exciting part to me. No? So every morning, I woke up and I knew that I had a problem in front of me that I had to try to solve through small steps, such that I would accomplish that objective. And that's very addictive, at least for some people. That's very addictive because it's not going to work and do the same job over and over and over every day. It's basically every day you discover that what you did yesterday did not work. That's fine. You continue working on it, and after time, trust me, I always say the same to my students. Just keep working. There's going to be a day, maybe on a weekend, that you are like going through a hike or something like that it clicks in you and you find a solution to your problem. Okay? And as I said, the PhD students are this group of people that somehow glue everything together and allow research to be performed at university. You guys are very important, okay? And I mean, there are many famous quotes that we can use to motivate this idea. But for example, Einstein, no? He came up with this quote and saying, I have no special talent. I'm only passionately curious. No? That's a PhD. When you start a PhD, you don't know much about the specific topic. But after a year, you become to grasp what are the limits of the topic that you are working on. After 2 years, you start to somehow develop new ideas. The third year is when everything explodes in a good way. You start to find solutions for everything, if you're lucky. And most of the times happens like that. And basically the fourth year is the time to try to condensate that into papers and to try to wrap up the thesis and defend it. Okay? Or other famous quotes. For example, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. And how do you do that? Through time. There's no other way around it. It's a lot of dedication, a lot of passion, and solutions will come. Okay, and for me, the most important one, okay, and trust me, I've seen this many different times. So somehow completing a successful PhD and becoming, let's say, a well-known researcher is not a matter of talent. Talent is just the beginning. It's just the beginning. What you need to do is dedication. It's 99% of hard work, of dedication, passion for the topic, trying to somehow to start over again when an idea doesn't work. That's the most important part of the PhD. And to me, that's part of the teaching that we do through the PhD, to become that person that is able to somehow go through adversity no matter what. And that's a very special skill that you get through a PhD. Okay, so qualities for research. I was talking about these qualities, right? So a nice thing about the PhD process is that in addition to getting to know a lot about a specific topic, you get to practice a set of transversal skills that will help you in your future careers. And these are skills that you did not typically train during your bachelor or master degrees. Why? Because the type of teaching we do at the PhD level is completely different. At the PhD level, you are free, of course, in agreement with your supervisors, but you are free to organize your day as you think is more useful. And also you have time to learn how to communicate ideas, learn how to write, how to come up with approaches to solve very complex problems in which there's no recipe. In most of these problems, there's no recipe. There's not a recipe that you start and you say, okay, if I do A, B, C, D, I will solve the problem. You have to imagine yourself in the middle of the jungle and you can basically follow whatever direction you think is best. Okay, that's a PhD. So you get to learn how to do critical thinking, how to manage time, very important, how to manage time. The PhD students that work with me, the first year, whenever I ask them to complete a task, they say, no, I will have it by tomorrow, and typically it takes a month or 2 months. And then they start to learn how to more or less estimate the time that task requires, and that's very important. Also, you get to learn how to communicate ideas, this ability to think, passion for research, and also this idea of becoming an independent thinker. This idea of becoming independent and getting to know or getting to create or design strategies to solve very complex problems. And of course, that requires a lot of effort, a lot of dedication, and a lot of passion. So a little bit more of technical details, no? So what do we provide as doctoral studies here at UPC? So, well, if your idea is to start a PhD maybe this September or something like that, the path seems a little bit complicated, but it's not that complicated. Okay, so if you are really convinced about pursuing a PhD, nice, we welcome you. If not, you still have time to think about it. But the main idea is to understand what the process is. Okay, so the process is the following. I'm convinced I want to do a PhD, so what is the process? What should I do? So first of all, we would suggest you to check our website, okay? In the website, you will find like the main 5 fields of knowledge, which at UPC are organized in sciences, civil engineering, industrial engineering, telecommunication, and electronic engineering, and architecture. These are like the main fields of knowledge. They are organized in 45 different doctoral programs, 46. We started a new program last year about design. 8 of these programs correspond to shared programs with other universities. And as I said before, there's approximately 2,400 students enrolled, and we have the Doctoral School here at Campus North at the Edifici Nexus 2. As I said, 5 main fields of knowledge: architecture, civil engineering, industrial engineering, information and communications, and sciences. Okay, so what should be like the way forward in trying to understand how to do or to start a PhD? First of all, we suggest you that you identify out of the 5 main fields of knowledge, which is the one that you are more interested in. Say, for example, industrial engineering. Okay, once you know that that's the main area of knowledge that you are interested in, you can check like the different programs that compose that field of knowledge. Okay, so choose your research area, and once you have identified a doctoral program, then you can go through the professors that somehow compose that program, and then you can start interacting with them. Okay, so you investigate and you find that Professor X works on a topic that you are somehow interested in. So what you can do then is contact that professor through email, or maybe through visiting him or she at her office, and start having a conversation with that professor and say, okay, I would like to perform a PhD on this or that topic, which is more or less aligned with the type of research that you do. And that starts a conversation with a professor that, if the 2 parties agree that is a very nice and interesting topic, then you have found the supervisor that can supervise your thesis. but that's not everything that you need to do. So now it's like, okay, there's somebody that is interested in supervising my thesis. Sometimes, of course, you will have to align a little bit with the type of research that that professor does, because that means that there's going to be funded that can be used for your PhD thesis. So my advice is try to be a little bit flexible. Don't go with a specific idea and say, no, I'm not going to move from that. Of course, if you are interested in a specific idea, try to work on that idea, but accepting that there's going to be a little bit of flexibility, especially in terms of funding. Once you've done that, the best way to proceed is to check if you satisfy the entry requirements. What are these requirements? Well, typically is that you have a master completed. Yeah, that's the most important one. Of course, then if you come from overseas, maybe there are some restrictions in terms of visa, things like that. But the most important one is to have the master completed. After that, you have to talk with the supervisor. What are the funding opportunities? What are the two main ways of funding your PhD? Basically, it's either through scholarships and fellowships, that I will talk about it in the next slides, or through projects that belong to that supervisor. Those are the two main ways of funding your PhD. Okay? And after that, if everything has been organized, you can start your application through the doctoral program that you are interested in, and that starts the process. Then you can somehow start the application, and then everything else goes along. Okay, so as I said before, where can I find all this information? Through the Doctoral School website. Okay, if you go to https://doctorat.upc.edu, you will have all this information organized in the 5 main areas, and if you click on each of these areas, as you can see here, you will find the specific programs. Okay, so I really encourage you to go not through the 45 programs, but maybe the 5 or 6 programs that you somehow estimate that are more aligned with the type of research that you want to do. What else? Well, this is the website. You can find a lot of information. If you click on the right button of the website, you will find everything, information of how to apply, the different programs, the scholarships that are available, the events that we do at the Doctoral School, everything. Everything is available through the website. So I encourage all of you to go have a look and to get more information about it. Of course, if you have questions, you can send us emails, or you can come and visit us at the Doctoral School, and we will be happy to provide any information that you need. Admission, that's a very typical question. Admissions are open throughout the year, except August and maybe July. Maybe it's not a very good idea to start your PhD in July. But throughout the year, the admissions are open, and you are welcome to contact professors and to start like the application process. As I said, enrollment periods are always open, except July, August, that are months of the year that the activity goes down. Oops, sorry. What else? Scholarships and grants. That's very important. No? In terms of funding, how can I get funding for my PhD? So there are scholarships at the, let's say, at the Catalan, I would say, at the UPC level, at the Catalan level, at the Spanish level, and at the European levels. There are many types of scholarships that open throughout the year, and you may say, but what is the period of the year in which there are more openings? So typically spring, summer, September, I would say that those are the periods in which more scholarships open. For example, UPC opens scholarships, I think they did in March or something like that. They will open a new one now in June or July. And then at the Catalan level, there is the Beca Joan Oró, which opens typically in November, something like that. And then at the Spanish level, there is the FPU scholarship that typically opens in January. And then at the European level, also there are like the Marie Curie fellowship doctoral programs that I think open in September, something like that. How can I get news about it? Just go to the website and you will have all this information. Actually now, UPC has a very nice website in which there is a hub of scholarships that you can have the information of all the scholarships at the PhD level and even at the postdoctoral level. That is in terms of scholarships. In terms of other types of funding, as I said before, through projects, if the supervisor that you contact has active projects and he or she has funding, maybe a possibility is to perform your PhD through a project in which a project hires you and you perform your PhD. Another type of way of funding your PhD is what we call the industrial PhD. This is a very interesting way of doing a PhD, which is that you develop your thesis, say 50% of your time at UPC and the other 50% of your time, or it depends a little bit with the company, at a company. The nice thing about this is that it gets you very close to industry. So in most cases, when you're finished your PhD, most likely the company typically will hire you because the company is the first one interested in retaining you because you have acquired the type of knowledge that the company wants to somehow get leverage of. Okay, those are called industrial PhD, Doctorat Industrial in Catalan, and this is what you have to do in that context is that the supervisor has to come up with an agreement with a specific company. And then twice per year, typically in September and in February, if I'm not incorrect, typically there are periods of time in which you can apply to this type of doctoral, industrial doctoral programs. But remember, you have to have an agreement with a company. You agree with a company through your supervisor, and then you apply together to this type of PhD program. Okay? Yeah, those are very interesting, and it helps you get close to industry. And now, please, I'm almost finished. Allow us to show another video that will explain a little bit all these details. So please, if you can put the video.
Quan vaig acabar la carrera tenia ganes de seguir formant-me i alguna vegada m'havia plantejat fer un doctorat, però no va ser fins que vaig veure l'oferta de doctorat industrial que em vaig decidir. El tema era interessant, innovador i a més la investigació seria aplicada.
Cuando me comentaron la existencia del doctorado industrial, me pareció una oportunidad genial que mezclaba poder investigar con poder ver cómo realmente funciona la industria. Me aporta mucho a nivel personal, me sigo formando, tengo un proyecto de investigación innovador en el que creo, tengo el apoyo constante de la universidad, pero a la vez veo el día a día de una compañía y veo cómo toda esta innovación se aplica o se intenta aplicar en la industria.
Els doctorats industrials permeten no només desenvolupar nou coneixement i eines, sinó també testejar la seva eficiència al món real i a les empreses. A part d'això, és una oportunitat única per conèixer quines són les necessitats actuals que té la societat i les empreses.
Teniendo en cuenta la gran transformación por la que está pasando el sector de automoción, ahora, más que nunca, la investigación es clave para nosotros. El programa de doctorados industriales nos permite conectar con el joven talento y llevar conjuntamente a cabo los proyectos estratégicos para SEAT.
Los doctorados industriales ofrecen una oportunidad magnífica para SEAT en muchos aspectos. Por una parte, atraer el talento con una motivación extraordinaria para afrontar proyectos de larga duración y de dificultad muy alta. En SEAT, la investigación, el desarrollo y la innovación han sido, son y serán pilares fundamentales para la empresa. Con los doctorados industriales hemos encontrado una forma de llevar toda esa innovación a todas las áreas de la compañía.
This program allows us to have very well-trained researchers to carry out strategic projects for the companies. In addition, doctorate students are an enabler for the transfer of technology and knowledge of the university.
SEAT em dona accés a recursos que d'altra manera seria més difícil d'aconseguir-los. A més, tinc el suport en tot moment de la meva tutora a la UPC i del meu tutor a SEAT.
Gràcies a aquest conveni, s'ha tingut accés a proves pilots que han aportat un gran valor a la recerca. A més, amb el finançament que s'obté es pot assistir a cursos especialitzats, congressos i conferències que enriqueixen la recerca y potencian las publicaciones.
Nos ayuda también a reforzar nuestro compromiso social, dando la posibilidad de formar a jóvenes y eventualmente no tan jóvenes en estos campos nuevos de investigación, y también nos permite de alguna forma ser capaces de abordar proyectos en tendencias que son relativamente arriesgadas, porque un doctorado final es resolver un problema que nadie se ha planteado nunca o que nadie se ha planteado nunca resolverlo de la forma en la que se va a resolver.
Very good, thank you. So this was an example of an industrial doctorate, maybe in the mobility sector through the SEAT company, but this is open to whatever type of company that is interested in this type of programs. If you, for example, interested in energy, you may contact through your supervisor, or maybe the supervisor already has contacts with companies in the energy sector, and then you can also try to establish a doctoral, industrial doctorate with that company. This was only exemplified with the mobility sector. So, as I said before, well, in addition to getting to know more about a specific topic, the PhD is a very good opportunity to get like transversal skills, and through the doctoral school we provide access to cross-disciplinary training in terms of how to disseminate ideas, how to communicate ideas, how to get funding, how to transfer your knowledge to society, how to create spin-off startups. So through your PhD period, every year we create or we open positions for this training that are for free and that are very good because it allows you to get skills that you would not get typically at the bachelor or master level. And through the doctoral school, we try to do several activities throughout the year. For example, here we have some examples. 3 weeks ago or something like that, we did like the annual ceremony of the doctoral school, in which all the people that finished the doctorate last year came, and we went through this, let's say, ceremony to finish the graduation of their activity. But we do many other things. We try to do social events in which, for example, people that coming from abroad help you get to know other people. Also, like getting to know you, what we do in terms of traditions here in Catalonia. Here we have an example of a cagatio that we do for Christmas, and as well as other activities, Sant Jordi, and other activities that help you get to know other people and get to know our culture here in Catalonia. Well, and of course, with that I would like to finish. So what is the typical PhD path? So typically the PhD, think of it as 3-4 years. If you do it full time, typically a PhD is 3-4 years. So by year 4, you should be in a position to finish your PhD. Of course, if something happened, some medical issues, or there was some problems with the lab experiments, that some international event that impacted your thesis, no problem. You guys have an extra 5th year to finish your studies. But you should think about it as 3-4 years of your life in which you are fully committed to your PhD. That's what we call the full-time PhD duration. But there's a second option for those of you that already work in a company but are still interested in pursuing a PhD. Then you can follow the part-time PhD, which is basically you dedicate part of your day to the thesis, and in that sense, we allow you, through the ministerio, we allow you guys to do it through 6-7 years with an extra year that would be year 8. Okay, so full-time is 4 years, 3-4 years. Part-time is 6-7 years, and in both cases, you have this extension of 1 year in case that something happened and you want to delay a little bit the defense of your thesis. Okay, so a little bit of a summary in very nice illustrations. So that's more or less like the peaks and valleys of a PhD journey. So as I said at the beginning, oh, I'm starting a PhD, fantastic, etc., etc. And that should be your motivation. After that, it's like, wow, this starts next September. Okay, it's time to work on it. And then at the beginning, you are super motivated. You start to get to know more about the topic, so you start to feel, wow, this is super interesting. But then maybe some of the solutions that you thought about do not work. You have to start writing. Maybe writing is not the passion for some people, like really focused on engineering, but that's part of the process. Then at some point you start to say, okay, 2 years to go, I'm still like starting to grasp what I'm supposed to do, but don't worry. If you keep working, most of the times, or not, or almost all the times, you end up like with publications and with a good PhD process that allows you to go through the defense and after some years get the PhD degree and somehow feel you satisfied in that sense. What else? Next, so after the PhD, so years ago, the mentality was, okay, if I do a PhD, it's because I want to stay in academia, become professor, and just repeating the cycle over and over again. That's not the case anymore. PhD is basically a door to many different options. Of course, you can try, if you like teaching and interacting with students, you can become a professor, but there are other many opportunities. For example, work in a research institute, work in a development and innovation department in industry, start your own company or startup. So there are many other options that maybe some years ago were not as accessible as now. Okay, and with that, I would like to finish somehow. But as I said, so after the PhD, if you want to stay in academia, typically go through a couple of postdocs, and then you try to get a stable position. That was like the traditional path. But now there are many other opportunities. Just to give you an example, so now out of all the PhDs that finish here at UPC, 46% of them go to companies and they work in innovation departments and transfer knowledge departments or management positions. 34% somehow stay in university, and approximately 20% they go to research institutes to keep developing research, but just focus on research. And with this quote, I would like to finish from Nelson Mandela, which basically says that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. With that, I finish. Thanks for your attention, and I hope that you get motivated about it. Yes. So questions. So if any of you have questions, we have time for that. So allow Noelia to provide you with a microphone.
Thanks. I have a question regarding the training that you mentioned. Is there monthly classes? Should we live here in Barcelona, or is it possible to live in another city in Spain and then coming just for, because I didn't find that in the website, if there is like permanent classes or just like.
So at the PhD level, your focus is on research with your supervisor, but there is, I think that you have to do some amount of cross-disciplinary courses, and that's mandatory through the, let's say, the regulation of the doctoral degree. These cross-disciplinary courses, most of them are online courses. Some of them are performed physically in a specific room, but most of them are online, and that gives you flexibility. Why online? Because, for example, there's, as I said before, UPC is organized in different campuses. So it may happen that there's people interested on a cross-disciplinary course from EVE, which is in Barcelona, or from Terrassa, or from Castelldefels. So most of the courses, we try to do them online, such that you just connect through the course. These courses are short. Think of them as maybe you dedicate 5-6 weeks, 1 or 2 hours per week, or something like that. Of course, there are different levels of duration of these courses, but typically are on this order, like 5-6 weeks, 2-3 hours per week. And these courses go from, let's say, how to communicate ideas, how to write, how to, I don't know, and there are some other more technical courses, statistics, applied statistics, how to use artificial intelligence tools in your research, things like that. But they are very open and online. More questions? Sí.
So my question is for a master's student who is probably about to finish his master's degree, and when you make application for this PhD, and if you haven't finished your master's program, is there like a limitation because you haven't gotten your degree yet?
There's no problem.
And also concerning the when you also apply, if the requirements you said was that you need to have the master's degree, and also I'm trying to figure out, is there going to be like maybe an interview between the student and the professor to see if they're compatible, and if there are like any other further requirement that you feel to mention?
So typically, when you are finishing your master's, say for example, you're about to finish your master now in June, July. You are in your, let's say, working your master thesis. So that's a very good time to start identifying professors that may somehow work on research topics that you are interested in. So it's a good time now to start contacting professors. Why? Because the scholarships, for example, that I described before, even if they open now and you haven't finished your master thesis, most of these scholarships, they somehow let you participate, and in case that you get the scholarship, if you have finished your master through that period, you are able to somehow get it. So now is a very good time for two reasons, because there are these opportunities for scholarships, and also because the natural thing is to start in September, for example, right? So in terms of application period, even if you don't have the master right now, but you are about to finish, now is a very good time. Also in June and July and throughout the year, but especially now. Then in terms of contacting professors, just go through the web, look for professors and start interacting with them, and somehow trying to find if there is one that matches with you. And from that, you guys have to think about funding, scholarships, projects, and then you go from there. Then once you have a supervisor and you are about to complete your master's, it's a good time to apply to a doctoral program. Does that more or less answer your questions? Yeah. See, there was another question. Okay.
Well, my question was about the grants, because you have to apply for grants and you have to apply for scholarships, but they obviously have a delay. They have to be processed, they have to be accepted. So, for instance, if I'm in the first year of my master's and it's a 2-year master's, when should I start looking for grants? Should I first look for professors, projects or stuff? Should I apply a year before? How long does that take?
I would say if you are super sure that you want to do a PhD, it's like, okay, that's my destiny. What I would do at first year of the master thesis is start interacting with professors and say, hey, I like what you do, I'm interested in the type of research that you do, I would be interested in pursuing a PhD when I finish the master's. Why that? Because then that professor somehow has identified you. And it's like, okay, this guy is interested in a PhD. Then by year 2 of your master's, when you have completed maybe the first semester, that professor is like, there is that guy that is interested in pursuing a PhD with me. So that is the time that you start applying for scholarships. I would say when you are in your master thesis or at that time. Why? Because as you said, you apply to a scholarship and sometimes it takes 2 months, 3 months, depending. And for example, the scholarships from UPC, I think that they applied in March, and now in May, June, we will know the results. So 2-3 months. Typically, they take 2-3 months. But also, if that professor has like funding from projects, I mean, then that is direct. Once you finish your master's, you start as a PhD through a research project, and that's it. So I would say, if your destiny is to pursue a PhD, start contacting professors by the end of year 1 or during your year 1, and by year 2 of your master's, when you start doing your master thesis, you start applying for scholarships. Because most of the scholarships allow you to apply before finishing your master's, because they understand that through the process of getting the results, you get your master's. See? Did that answer your question? Yeah. Thank you. Questions? There is a question here.
In the case of, you explained about the
the doctoral, the industrial doctoral program. And in that case, the question is, how to be the order or the right order? You should contact the company first and then came from the doctor, or
I would
the professors?
I would do. First, you contact the professor. There are professors that they have they have already gone through that process and they actively look for students interested in industrial doctorates. And typically that professor has the contact at the company. If you as a student contact a company, hey, I would like to do an industrial PhD, the company will be like, what is that? So typically go through a professor, the professor that you identify, ask if he or she somehow is interested in PhD, in industrial PhD scholarships. And if he or she is interested, then is the time to contact the company. In most cases, all professors have contacts with companies. And then, of course, you have to know that the application opens in September and in February or something like that. So with that professor, you have to organize and say, okay, you are interested in that, the company is interested in hiring you as an industrial doctorate, so by September, let's apply, or something like that.
But in terms of the degree, it's the same.
Sorry, what? In terms of?
In terms of the degree, the doctorate is the same?
Sí. But yeah, it's the same. So contact the professor first, identify the professor, and then start the hunting for funding process. Questions? No? So thank you, and thanks a lot, and let's go to the next part.
Now, yeah. Thank you very much, Luis. So we move on. If you have more questions, we'll have occasion later to discuss once we finish the event. So now we will move to the award ceremony. First of all, I would like to thank the jury who have been rating, have been discussing, and they rated the presentations according to different marks that are specified by the Fundació Catalana per la Recerca, who is organizing the topics. These relate to the ability to communicate, but also to the ability of synthesizing the complex concepts, speaking about the thesis. So I know they took all of this into account, and now I would like to invite the representative of the jury, Mrs. Agnès Escobar, who will read the results.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to finish up this UPC edition of the competition. And I think that I talk for all the jury that we have to congratulate of the contestants, of the participants. And we think that it's very hard to explain in 4 minutes all the work you have done in the previous years. So thank you very much for your generosity and to explaining us all the work you've done. And having said that, our decision is to give the third prize to Germán Fañanàs Pujané.
L'enhorabona. Sí, exacte. I aquest és, sí. Sí.
Merci.
Molt bé, felicitats.
And the second prize goes to Maria Pilar Gamarra Gamarra. Congratulations.
Felicidades. Yeah. We will be taking a picture with each of the awardees. ¿Sí?
And the first place goes to Ricardo de Aro Mancha. Congratulations.
Felicidades. So now that picture is for real, right? Okay, thank you.
Congratulations for the participants. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now I would like to also acknowledge all of you who prepared. You did, all of you, really an excellent job. So yeah, we have a diploma for you, and I would love to call you one by one. We'll give you the diploma and we'll take a picture all together, because I think that what you did has a real merit. It's complex to synthesize such complicated topics. So please, if you can come up, Javier Marricaín. Yeah, and if you go there, Noah Larvoe. Ana María Villanova. Gracias. Ronald Hendry Palacios. Gracias. Wahinur. Mario Carlos Mallea. Gracias. Ensunel Kumar. Yeah, so we can take a group picture. Do we fit? No, pues sí.
¿Sí? ¿No?
¿Está bien?
¿Nosotros?
¿Sí? ¿Está bien? Okay. Is it good? Is there? So, thank you very much, everyone. So now we'll be seeing. You will have to prepare for the final that is in Vic by mid or end June. So, but we will keep in contact for that. And again, I really want to thank all of you for the effort of coming and participating to the ceremony. Oops, I forgot to click the, the slides. And with this, I just would love to thank you all for coming. Now we have small snacks. We can make a toast outside for all the participants. And we will be outside, all the team from the Doctoral School, to solve any doubts that you may have. So really, thank you for coming, and hope to see you next year doing the PhD here at UPC. Muchas gracias a todos.